Shut up and sit down.
Question: how do I set my sales business ahead of the rest of the pack? Well, if this was Zoom, I know I'd probably get 100 different answers from you, but it's not. It's just me. So here's my answer to how to set your sales business ahead of the rest of the pack. Find your value proposition. Now, what is a value proposition? Here's my value proposition when it comes to coffee. If I haven't had my coffee and you try to have a conversation with me in the morning, I will guarantee you, I warn you, I have Post-its all over my office. It will not go well for you. This is my definition of a value proposition when it comes to coffee. Now, what is a value proposition when it comes to your business? Early in my sales career, I would go hear professional coaches teaching and preaching all the time. Value proposition, and I would nod my head in agreement, but I had no earthly idea what they meant. Let me try to explain it to you in a way that was never explained to me. I'll use a couple of illustrations from my own recent experience of being sold some things. Years ago, I ordered a truck from a local dealership. At the point of sale, the salesman said, I can get that for you in our blah, blah, blah package that includes leather, a year of Sirius radio, for an extra $35 per payment. Seemed like a ton of money at the time, about $1,000 over the lifetime of the contract, but I took that deal. Because to me, leather was non-negotiable, and I love Sirius. I would have paid more. So this seemed like a great value to me, even though that may seem really stupid to you. I purchased a television back in January to watch the Super Bowl on my couch in the man cave, and I wanted a great TV for this man cave, but my wall space was only able to accommodate a 75-inch TV. I'm looking at the 8K. I'm willing to pay a fortune because it is a gift to myself and the man cave. And the girl said, well, I can get that for you in an 82-inch. It's on special today for only $500 more. You know, when you're already paying $5,000 for a television set, what's another $500, right? Sounds like an incredible deal. I did not take the deal. Why not? I repeat, for the third time, I only had space for a 75-inch television. She could give me the bigger television, and I would have refused. Maybe a great value to somebody, but it was not a great value to me. One more example. Last week, I'm flying from Flint, Michigan to Atlanta, Georgia, a flight out of Atlanta into Greenville, South Carolina, and if you've ever flown through Atlanta, you know hysterics in the barracks. Start of the coronavirus, lots of people wearing masks. Well, I did not sleep the night before my flight. Not a wink, never do. My flight left Flint at 6 in the morning, into Atlanta 8 in the morning, out of Atlanta 8 in the morning, into Greenville 9 in the morning, at my meeting 10 in the morning, presented on a 3,000 life case, won the deal, walked around Greenville, back at the Greenville airport 4 o'clock, back into Atlanta 7 o'clock. I felt like I'd been beaten up with a hammer. Now, I was flying economy because when I booked the flight 3 weeks earlier, all the flights were full. No first class seating available at that time. And sure enough, I was assigned a middle seat next to Tommy Boy and the church lady, both of whom wearing masks, talking like Darth Vader. But the coronavirus outbreak changed everything. The plane on the way down there, only 2/3 of the way full. Still, even though empty rows, they wouldn't allow people to change seats on this flight. So, on the way home, I went to the Delta counter and I asked how much to upgrade to the first class for this flight from Atlanta to my home in Flint. She looked at me like a bump on a pickle. She said, well, we're not supposed to upgrade somebody in case somebody who really needs a seat needs that first class seat. I said, well, I need that first class seat. Give them mine. Well, obviously they get a lot more money as opposed to somebody switching out seats, so they just don't want to do it. I must have looked distraught because she said, honey, are there special circumstances? I said, well, yeah. I'd rather not sit next to Tommy Boy or church lady again. I mean, I've been up since yesterday. I am maxed out. She said, well, sir, it really gets expensive to upgrade for just one flight. I said, ma'am, short of buying the plane, I would pay just about anything to get that seat. She said, okay. And she flicked those 2-inch fingernails on that keyboard, which was almost as annoying as her chewing on her bubble gum. Finally, she said, sir, I'm so sorry. It's really expensive. That'll be another $59. Now, I almost dislocated my shoulder getting my wallet out of my pocket. I moved so quickly. I bought it. Why? Because even though she didn't see the value in it, I did. I would have paid $599 for that seat. Now, you're sitting out there in video land and you're thinking, you know, Mark, the back of the plane gets there at the same time as the front of the plane, and you may not see the value in it. My Uncle Daryl would not have seen the value in it, but I happily paid because comfort was my value driver in that moment. So I've given you 3 examples. I took 2 deals and I left 1 on the table. Now, what is the takeaway from these examples? At least 5 principles I'd like for you to consider with me. Number 1, value is in the eye of the beholder. Value is in the eye of the beholder. And this is the lesson I'd like for you to walk away with today. What may appear to be value to you is not value to your prospect, and the opposite may also be true. What may be of value to them doesn't even occur as value to you. It's all about perspective, and the point is, it's not about your perspective. I guarantee you'll become better at sales by changing seats, taking that upgrade, thinking about value from the seat of the prospect instead of your seat. Principle number 2, value equations are different for all of us. As consumers, we're constantly adding or pre-programming the value equation, and we're constantly asking ourselves the question, is it worth it? Is it worth it? We ask the question, is it worth it to me? And this leads to the 3rd principle, and that is value is a buyer word, and if it is not valuable to the buyer, then it is not valuable, period. That seems so obvious. What is valuable to you may not be valuable to me. We've all heard that. But to apply this to the sales process, well, this is where we see the disconnect. I job shadow in clinics all around the country, and in listening to 90% of all producer conversations for training and retraining, I hear download, not diagnosis. Now, I get that we need to lead our prospects into thinking what we think has value, but wouldn't we be better off finding out what is truly of value to the prospect? I hear download, feature, selling, feature after feature, followed by a few questions. Do you see the value in that? Stop. You sound rehearsed and robotic. If you have to ask, do you see the value in that? Then it's clear you're steering the conversation toward your own values. They will hear it, and they will see you selling them. And it reeks of sales system. Now, 1 or 2 in a sales conversation, probably okay, but I hear it used so often as a crutch, and that's a dangerous place to be. Listen, it's true, you know the value better than the prospect. It's okay to make recommendation. It's okay to make inquiry. Like if you're an insurance agent or someone along that line, you do know best, and it's okay to lead. But steering, which sounds like the same thing, is not the same thing. Steering means you're driving, not leading. Now, I'm a terrible passenger. Most of your prospects would prefer to sit in the driver's seat too. Let them when it comes to the non-essential stuff. When it comes to the professional conversation, that's it. You're the driver. You're leading. But you cannot assume value. You can't do that. You must ask them, what are your values? Do you want to buy a new TV? Have you had a bad experience on the plane sitting next to Chatty Cathy? Would you like a free year of Sirius Radio, cloth or leather? You're supposed to be investigating value rather than assuming value. Stop inflicting the customer with your version of value. How do you avoid sharing information that is not valuable to them? Ask them. The more you understand about their value choices, the better chance you'll have of understanding how to best service them. And that leads me to the 4th principle of our study. And it's this. Value is determined by the questions you ask and the answers they give. 2 parts to this. 2 questions to ask every time. Question number 1, what's the most important thing to you going forward? In other words, what is on your must-have list? How do you want your life to look going forward? Those are exploratory questions that must be asked and answered. And the second question, and this is the one that's normally missing from most sales conversations, is where are you coming from? So where do you want to go and where are you coming from? In other words, what's not working for you? What has you shopping for a new car, a television, or an insurance policy today, and you just opened a can of it? Because this usually gets them talking. Now, if it doesn't, you keep listening. But this is the conversation about what they value. Their value system comes spilling up. Now, step up, Buttercup. Ask, what's making you uncomfortable? Principle number 5. Value is destined to be your best friend. If I can figure out what is causing their pain and be the doctor and give the prescription, give this diagnosis, find out what's causing their pain. Where do you want them to go? That's pleasure. That's joy. That's where you find their value. So the value proposition has very little to do with you and everything to do with them. Here's what you give. You give them an opportunity to tell you what it is they're looking for. Then you work your magic. Now you can speak properly with your prospect. That's the value proposition. So value proposition has very little to do with you and everything to do with them. What is it that they value? Give them an opportunity to tell you what they value. Then you work your magic. Now you must speak properly about their values. The value proposition, I don't care what it is, televisions, seats on an airplane, or my giant cup of coffee every morning. What is it that they value? Let's find it and let's drive toward that. I'll see you in our next episode, team.